that you look up to, excluding family.
Mm-hmm. I'll also have this pen I'm supposed to give to you before I forget.
Oh, good. My mom will like that. You know, she's a postgrad. Well, I mean, the ultimate person I look up to, and probably everybody would say this, but she is unique to me, is my mother. She was probably why I'm doing this job is because she did this job many moons ago. She was an elected official. She was an alderman for 6 years. Her and another actually group of ladies were responsible for moving the needle forward with TARC. They went door to door. The last time we had an increase in our occupational license tax was through their efforts when TARC came online in 1974. So she's unique to me. Excluding family, though, I had the pleasure of working with one of her colleagues, and who's a very good friend of mine, and she's an alderman in the 80s, and she now is a real estate appraiser, but she works on campaigns, is a lady named Sharon Hall. And why I love Sharon so much is she's so passionate about whatever her calls may be, and it's usually a candidate or it could be an issue. But she's the best campaign manager I've ever had or known. And you know what her fee is?
What?
Absolutely zero. And I admire that because I think sadly in politics today, as you move, as you know, it's changed. It's become a lot more about money. Folks are, you know, whether they're media folks or whether they're, you know, your campaign manager types. Everybody is now doing it for profit, and she doesn't. She does it because she believes in a candidate and or a cause and wants to make the world better. So I would say that's who I look up to.
Okay. And then what did you have in mind before college as a career?
I was 6 years old. My grandmother always asked me what I wanted to be. And strangely, I told her I wanted to be an attorney. And, you know, self-fulfilling prophecy, I became an attorney and started off in tax and employee benefits. Liked it, but realized that something was missing, and getting the opportunity to work for government as an attorney and make a difference in people's lives is why I decided to do what I did.
Did you feel confident in your academic college career, and what obstacles or situations did you experience during that time?
You know, I was fortunate enough. There were two incidents in college. I came into college in undergrad saying, you know, I'm going to be an engineer. I thought I was, you know, I'd done well in math and science. And it was second semester, and it was chemistry 2. And I never really cared why one hydrogen mixed with 2 oxygen to make water. But, you know, I was in there, and we were doing some sort of fractions and, not fractions, compound equations, and then you'd come up with whatever this thing is at the end. Well, I started to realize I didn't like that at all. And I went in my second semester taking chemistry and took my last final. And I don't know what grade I needed, but in the class I got a 69.3.
Oh.
I needed a 69.5, and I actually tried hard. So I got a D, and I realized my years of being a scientist or an engineer went by the wayside, and then I went into accounting, which was what my dad was, which ended up being a good career choice. But yeah, that was a failure of mine.
What ratio of males to females were in your college courses, and did you feel like both genders were equally represented in the classes that you took?
I think in accounting at that time in the 80s, I think there were equal. Some of my classes were so big at UK, they were held like in gymnasiums, you know, there'd be like 2,000 people. I remember I had like a geography class, or maybe it was a history class that was that way, and I couldn't tell you how many, who even showed up. So I think very much, you know, a field like engineering would have seen a lot more males, but accounting and finance and marketing and the classes I took, it was very equal, and so was law school, very equal.
That's good. And do you think how do you think your professors would answer this question? What do you think about Mr. Mulvihill or Pat? How do they envision you?
You know, I don't know that I had a real good, you know, college professors. I think looking back at law school, I think they would have thought I'd become a very tax-oriented sort of fella, which I didn't end up. I'm proficient at that, but being in the public realm, I think the thing they would always say, I came to class, I worked hard, I listened, wasn't disruptive, and I think they'd say overall, decent student, good student.
Good. Did you have any female professors?
Did I have female professors? I'm sure I did. And yeah, I did. Especially in law school, there seemed to be more in law school, and there was at UK. There was a lady in accounting too. But we had a constitutional law professor, Trucios Haynes, who was good. She's still faculty for the University of Louisville. I learned quite a bit about the Constitution in that, and I think today we're seeing. Or there's at least a lot of talk, and I'm sure you've paid attention on folks either standing up or sitting down for the national anthem, and there's been a lot of talk about your First Amendment rights, which I think we live in a country that it's great in the sense that we have that right to do what we think's right, and if you're in the public eye, there might be public scrutiny, but it's still. You're not arrested or jailed or put away forever because you did something the government doesn't like. It's what the government allows you to do, which I think is great.
Yeah. How would you describe your journey to your current position?
Interesting. When my wife and I got married, we had to take marriage classes in the Catholic Church. I think they have a name, pre-marriage, or they might have a different name for it. But we took classes. And what I said in 2002 is, in 10 years, I would hope to be in elected office and maybe a councilman. So that would have been 2012. So I was 3 years late coming because I didn't become a councilman until November 2015. So I think it was it's something I think my mom built in me, public service. I had worked in government, had a pretty good understanding of how it worked, and I think maybe it was just a natural evolution that I might, try this and, hopefully do right by people and do right by the job and do right by the government.
Good. Did you have a mentor that helped you along this journey, like by parent or counselor?
Oh, my mom.
Professor, your mom?
My mom is definitely she's a prescribe, but she's definitely probably the most inspirational person in my life. My dad's to some degree, but my mom is, she taught us, to care for others. And I think, just getting to hold this job and this title doesn't necessarily equate with that. But if I'm able to do half of what she did, at the end the results will speak of that. Because, there's a famous saying I have when I decided to take this job, and I still firmly believe it. I'm not here to make the news. I'm here to make a difference. And hopefully it's a positive one.
Are you confident in the job you have now? Do you feel like there is fair treatment between you and the opposite sex in your current career?
At this table, where council people, and you've been to some of the committee, I definitely think there is equity. I think as a lawyer, there are a lot more females, especially if you go to the bench, where judges are. There are a whole lot more females, especially on the district court bench, than there are males. So I do think, we're definitely seeing a larger role for females, and, we're better for it.
What are some of your future plans and goals in life?
I have 3 kids, and I think the most important thing is hopefully to raise them to be respectful, hardworking, and contributions to society. So if there was one thing I want to do is I want to make sure my kids are productive and are good citizens and do well by others.
And then, do you have any advice to your high school self and to other young adults now?
I'll say this, and because when you're 6 and you say you're going to be an attorney, follow your dreams, chase your dreams, whatever they may be, and however crazy they may seem or unattainable they may be. I have 2 really, really good friends that went to Hollywood, one to be an actress, the other to be an actor, Neither are doing that.
Good.
But both are very successful. One is she's an agent for young folks who want to go out there and try to get gigs, and the other's a writer. He writes on shows like Falling Skies.
Oh, wow.
But it's like trying to go to the NBA. You know, it's almost impossible. But they followed their dreams, and maybe their dreams are not quite what they were, but they are still getting to act as a hobby. Like they'll go and do, I don't know, plays on a Friday night someplace, and they get to act. But their day jobs have nothing to do. Well, they might surround acting, but they have nothing to do with them acting.
Yeah.
But they're successful because they're hardworking. They never gave up, and although they didn't quite get exactly what they wanted, they came pretty close. And so I would say to folks, follow your dreams and don't let anybody tell you can't do it. And you know, along the way, if you decide you want to do something else, that's fine too. But you know, take a swing at it.
According to Merriam-Webster, feminism is the belief that men and women should have equal rights and opportunities. Do you agree with this definition? Why or why not?
Yes, I believe not just feminism. I believe all folks should have equal opportunity. I think that's important in life, and I think we've talked about America, what it's about. That's what it should be about. You know, everybody having an opportunity, and sometimes if we have to help folks who may not have the opportunities today, if we have to help them get to those opportunities, I think we have an obligation to do so.
And then, do you consider yourself a feminist?
Sure. Yeah. I have a strong-willed mother. She'd be ashamed if I didn't. And I also have a strong wife, and certainly I have a daughter who I'm very proud of. She's my baby, and so I want all opportunities for everybody to be equal.
And do you feel like the representation of women in government is particularly low in the U.S.? Why or why not? And do you know what percentage of women make up the U.S. politics?
I think we could have the glass ceiling broken at the top here November 8th, which in my mind would be a good thing. Not at this level, not at the local level, but as you move up in government. So I think in local politics, you'll see a lot more female mayors, female councilwoman, you know, whatever that the government type is, you'll see a lot more. In our state house, state house and Senate, no, we don't have equal representation. There could certainly be more, and certainly Kentucky lacks in having a female candidate, you know, at the Senate or House of Representatives. In fact, Ann Northup was from here, but I have a hard time really remembering, and I don't think there's ever been, and I could be wrong in this, but I don't think there's ever been a female U.S. Senator from Kentucky. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's not. So we we lack theirs too.
Yeah.
So we could use some more representation.
Did you know that women make up 51% of the population, the U.S. population, but only make up 17% of the government? And then the U.S. ranks 98th in the world for percentage of women in its national legislature, with Rwanda being number 1, having 49% of their government being made of women. And if the U.S. stays at this exact rate of women being represented in our government, it will take 500 years for us to catch up and be equally represented in Congress. That's just...
That seems like that seems like it's taking too long.
Yeah.
And I think I would say this, and I'd say this to you. And I think this is maybe the problem in politics in general. Putting yourself out there, you know, whether it be man or woman or anybody, is somewhat challenging now. Getting the right candidates. I mean, I think this election, we've heard a lot of criticism on the two candidates we have.
Yeah.
But they did put their names out there, but I think that's also the problem we have. We want to encourage folks, women, men, whomever, good. I say good. Yeah. Good people who like-minded with me. I don't know that everybody would agree with that. That's good, but that's my definition of good. To put themselves out there and try to make a difference. But I certainly think that certainly should be higher. But I also hope, women don't feel impeded. At least on this council, I don't think they do, because I work with a lot of great female colleagues here, and I don't know what our present makeup is. Do you know of our council?
I don't know the specific council, no. But I know that's U.S. politics.
Yeah, so. Yeah. So I mean, but if I I start looking around,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's not quite half, but it could be close to half and
Close.
half
It's
here.
pretty
Yeah,
equal.
so
That's
it's. But I'd say this: we need good candidates. So
We do.
please, female candidates, any good male candidates, any good candidates,
Right.
please step up and do this.
And then, in what ways do you think society can better motivate girls or women to actively participate in leadership roles in our society?
Well, I do think you have groups like Emerge that have come on and are
That's
encouraging
what someone else said.
young women to get involved, or I guess it could be young, it could be old women, young and old women, to get involved. And I think those are the kind of groups. But I do think, you know, I look around in schools, you know, whether it be debate teams or whether it be Marianne Butler and I, Councilwoman Butler, we participated in CUNA and we participated in KYA, which are local youth governments. And I think those kind of opportunities give any male or female the opportunity to move forward, and I think those kind of programs are good, and let people know maybe that's what they want to pursue. You know, I want to be involved in, you know, adopting crazy legislation, because legislation sometimes is crazy because there's always a lot of changes, but I think it's important for those kind of programs to stay and take roles. And anybody who wants leadership roles, whether it be a leadership as an actress in a play or leadership in debate teams in schools, I think those are important to have, because I think they give people an opportunity to showcase themselves.
And then, if this was your project and you had to create an art piece that represents women in government, how do you think you would best represent that?
I think the best presentation that I see as a female in government, but it's sort of what the creed we see is my other profession, is Lady Justice, with the blindness and the scales that are tipping. It shows that women can represent, or men, but especially women, can represent fairness, non-judgmental, and make really, really sometimes difficult, but informed decisions. And I think if there's anything, that is something that speaks volumes to what women bring to a job.